Welcome to Tailor Made Chaos. On this podcast, we'll bring you some of the highest flyers and most interesting people in and around the fitness industry. We'll talk and laugh with CEOs, franchisee groups, exercise specialists, and to those who work in sales and marketing, and will share their insights and knowledge of all things related to the business of fitness. Love what you hear? Make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date. On with today's show, proudly brought to you in conjunction with Fit Into Shape, a small but dedicated team of fitness industry professionals, delivering on all of your fitness equipment and gym design needs.
Often when I'm playing host on this podcast, I feel intimidated by our guests for various reasons. However, this is probably the first time someone's had 30 to 50 times more experience at the very thing that we're doing here today, which is podcasting. I refer to you as one of the market leaders, Chantal. You're an MC, presenter, a voice actor. Welcome to the podcast, Chantal Brodrick.
Thank you so much, Glenn. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So for listeners who are feeling a little bit nostalgic, Chantal, I think it's probably a good thing that get you to actually take over hosting of the podcast.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You're just throwing me in the deep end, are you?
It's
been a few years, but...
Look, probably the difference between you and me is you actually prepare for podcasts and I'm just neglecting my duties as the host to just try and hand it over to you. But
so does this mean I get to ask you all the questions instead?
Right, good point. Chantal, I've got a couple of questions prepared for you. So for our viewers, where are we and what are we doing here, Chantal?
Good question. Well, first of all, welcome to my home. So we are in the upstairs area of the Queenslander that my husband and I recently purchased and are about to start renovating. So we're in a beautiful 1940s Queenslander, hence the backdrop that everyone can probably see on the camera right now. We are in the Sunshine Coast hinterland and we are sitting on 11 acres of land out here. So we made a very big tree change just before Christmas and sold up from the coast and decided to put on our farming hat and learn how to use a ride-on mower and renovate our own home. So that's where we are right now.
Very good. So I'm feeling quite removed from the fitness industry. But before we get to why we're here, where we're here, why don't we take it all back to the start? Where did you actually grow up, Chantal?
So I grew up in Sydney.
Yep.
And I grew up in the northwest area of Sydney. I grew up with my dad. Yep. And it was just the two of us for many, many years before he got remarried. And I went to school in that area and I actually spent the first 40 years of my life in Sydney. So
how is that possible that you spent 40 years there and you've been up here?
Yeah, so we moved here pre-COVID, just before COVID, got in just at the right time.
I normally would never ask a lady her age, but you kind of dated yourself
well,
a little.
Well, there you go. You've got it.
Very good. And my maths is not good, so I'm going to say 35 and let's
perfect.
go on.
You're right.
So what type of kid were you, like being sort of fathered? Were you into sports? Were you...
Not at all.
No? You're daddy's little princess?
I was not at all into sports. Actually, I was not into fitness or sports or anything until I turned about 18. And when I turned 18, I discovered group fitness. I started going to my local Fitness First and started falling in love with classes. And that was really my first taste of the fitness industry was, front row of the body pump class.
Yep.
And then my first job straight out of school, I was working in North Sydney. Yep. And one of the very original Fitness First was not too far away from my office. And so my girlfriend and I would go up there before starting work each morning and we'd go and do our spin class or go and do our body pump class. And over a period of time, I just fell in love with it.
So you started as a consumer, essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And you said out of school you were working. Whereabouts were you working and what were you doing?
So interestingly, so I guess like so many kids when they finish their HSC, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do something that involved media or presenting or something that was always part of me. I always used to love doing acting and stuff like that. So I knew that I wanted to follow that path. But specifically what I wanted to go into, I had no idea. And I just found myself in an admin role in a media buying agency. Did not know what media buying was back then.
Yep.
It's now changed quite significantly, but essentially found myself in an admin role and over a period of time worked my way up. So the funny thing was, in all of the years that I spent in media and sales and marketing and got, an amazing grounding in those areas, I always had fitness as my passion.
Yeah.
It was always there the whole time, and it just became a point where I started spending more time in the gym than I started spending in the office. That was kind of the point that I realized it was probably time to make a jump.
So how long were you kind of in that media agency?
I was in the media world because I crossed over for a little while. I was in the media world for probably about 15 years all up. So I started off doing media buying. I then went into magazine sales, so working for Channel 7 and Pack Mags, which is the company at the time. I went through a variety of, different organizations at the time, probably 3 or 4 different companies over that time. But it was only about, I'd say 12 to 13 years in that I decided to take that passion for fitness and turn it into more than that. So I went and did my Cert 3 and studied group fitness. I just wanted to teach body pump. There was nothing else I wanted to do. I actually thought that I would continue working in media and just teach body pump on the side. But as it happens, at the time I did AIF, so Australian Institute of Fitness. My coaches were amazing, people that are still around now, still in Sydney at the time. I was still working full time, did my Group X certificate, and because I loved the experience so much, I never intended on doing it anymore, but I just absolutely loved doing my Cert 3 that I signed up for my Cert 4 on the spot to do personal training. And I was lucky enough to win an award which basically gave me a scholarship to go and do PT, go and have a PT contract at Fitness First.
Oh, wow.
So I somehow negotiated with my boss at the time, and I said to him, do you reckon I could cut down to 3 days here so I can go and do this PT thing a couple of days a week? And he said yes. And over a period of time, I kind of gradually eased my way out of the media industry and into the fitness industry until I started going full time. So that was my transition there.
So tell me, how was it like being a PT? We're talking what, 2005?
2008, I think it was. Yeah, round about then.
So it's just after the GFC. Obviously, money's a little bit tight. We didn't have quite the effect in Australia that other countries did, but it was still pretty epic. You're in the epicenter of finance. How did you become a successful PT during that time?
So interestingly enough, I didn't stay a PT for very long. As much as I loved it, and I did continue to do it, I guess you'd say part-time for a long period of time. Doing it full-time, I was very short. So I did not spend a long time. And it's essentially because as soon as I started just PTing, I realized how much I missed the business side. Yeah. So it was very, very early on that I realized that there was still that hunger for the business side. And interestingly enough, I was lucky at the time to be training at Fitness First Carlingford or working at Fitness First Carlingford, and I met JT, Justin Tamsett. Gotcha. And as you know from the interview that you did with him, he was doing business coaching and the roundtables and that type of thing. And we really quickly realised there was a great synergy between my business background, what he was doing, and my now fitness qualifications. And so really early on into that PT sort of stint that I was doing, I started doing business coaching for personal trainers under active management. Cool. So the transition was quite fast. So I didn't actually spend a lot of time, even though I was still PTing some clients. Yeah. So in answer to your question, Glenn, it wasn't a massive hurdle like going through the financial crisis at the time and that type of thing, because it wasn't the only thing I was doing. I've always tended to have a number of different things on the go at any given time. So, yeah.
Very cool. So I guess we skip forward a few years to when the fitness podcast sort of began. Mm-hmm. I think we're looking mid-15, sorry. How did that come about? Because obviously 2015 podcasts were pretty fresh. I think, you'd consider that you guys were one of the market leaders in that. And obviously it went on to become one of the biggest fitness podcasts at over 1.5 million downloads. Like, super successful. But where did the inspiration come from it? How did you decide you were going to be the voice of it? Like, talk me a bit through that sort of journey.
So it was quite an organic process. And so, as I mentioned, JT and I had already started working together back in the very early days, probably 2010, I would say, on a number of different projects. So content creation, PT business coaching, that type of thing. And as far back as, I want to say 2012, we had already started doing some content in the format of interviews. The word podcast wasn't even said at the time. Yeah. I think it was just content pieces. It was audio interviews. And I had interviewed a number of Australian-based coaches at the time, so consultants and coaches. And so that was a very, I guess, early iteration of the podcast. So we had kind of done, maybe it was 6 in 2012 and maybe a handful more in 2013. So over a period of time, it kind of organically became, I guess the format started to progress over time. But it was 2015 or just before that it was JT's idea. He literally came to me one day and he went, "What do you think about making this thing a weekly podcast?" And I thought he was crazy. And
let's both agree on camera and for the record, he is. But
because nobody knew what a podcast was, and I'll tell you a funny story about that in a minute. And B, because we were learning from scratch, it wasn't as the process. There were no processes or systems or automations like there are these days. I mean, we were literally hands-on for everything, from trying to get sponsors to trying to get guests, and so to go from what we were doing maybe 6 to half a dozen, to maybe 10 times a year, to suddenly go, okay, we're going to do 4 shows a month. It was a massive increase. Yeah. But I also think that was really significant in making our mark, getting the show known, and establishing the Fitness Business Podcast brand as the education platform that it is today. So it was a really important time. So yeah.
And you did that for 5 years, I think.
I did that for 5 years. Yeah.
What was it, about 300 episodes?
It was about 300. Yeah. It was a while ago now, but yeah, it was around 300.
Hence my intimidation. You see, I'm sweating, I'm nervous. You have that effect on me.
It was about 300 shows, and I still, like, to this day, it was the greatest joy of my career. I absolutely loved hosting that show because I just got to meet the most amazing people. I got to have the most incredible conversations. I personally feel like I got so much out of those conversations and meeting those people. So
yeah, it's, I have a couple of questions around that. Like, do you feel like by interviewing them, I mean, you're obviously an intelligent woman, but do you think you gained from the information that you garner from all of these market leaders and all of these people? Like, how has that progressed your career by hearing what all of these other key operators have said?
I think it has absolutely made me richer from a knowledge perspective, and I'm a big believer in that. It's one of the reasons that I loved hosting the show, is because I always felt that the information that I always felt like a bit of a conduit between the person that I was interviewing and the audience that were listening. And I felt as though it was my responsibility to make sure that anytime I would sit down with a guest, that I was extracting the very best, most valuable information that I could, so that our audience could benefit from that. So, so yes, I absolutely feel like I became richer purely from those conversations and from learning from those people, because not only did I have the opportunity to interview a lot of our industry leaders and people that are CEOs of some of the biggest fitness companies, but I also got to speak to authors and coaches and consultants and people that ordinarily I would never have been able to speak to. So that was such a joy.
Yeah. Again, putting you right on the spot, and you did over sort of 300, but was there any single one person that you went, that wasn't what I expected, and you took so much from it? Like, was there one that you really enjoyed more than any of the...
Yeah, it's hard to narrow it down, but there's one that I always talk about because of the impact that it had on me, and also because probably a very unsuspecting guest that I would never have, like I had the opportunity to interview a lot of big names and a lot of industry leaders, but the one that probably had the biggest impact on me, her name was Carol Michaels. And she had won the Personal Trainer of the Year in the US for IDEA. And it was probably, maybe she won 2017, I think it might have been. Anyway, the reason that she had such a profound impact was that her story was that she was a personal trainer and a number of members of her family and her local community had been diagnosed with cancer. And people, like a lot of trainers in the area, they got scared away from providing exercises or providing programming for these people that were undergoing chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And so she identified that there was this market. We're talking about 2017. Yeah. And now, yes, there are a lot more programs and knowledge available around how important exercise is for, at any stage of your life. But back then there wasn't. So she took it upon herself to reach out to the Medical Association and to work in conjunction with them to create programs specifically for people that were going through chemotherapy. And she was then able to provide those programs to her family and to the community that needed it. And so to me, that is what our industry is all about. I am a really firm believer that what we do, what our industry does, changes lives. And she is the perfect example of that. So, I want to say 2017. Don't ask me what episode number, but if anyone wants to have a listen, her name is Carol Michaels, and she's incredible.
I'd love to say I'll put our research team onto that.
But, and here they are.
Here they are. And I know he ain't doing it, but Carol Michaels, we'll find it. So, now you've done a lot of other things outside of the Fitness Business Podcast. You work with Tony DeLead with Mind 123. You want to talk to me a little bit about that? How did that come about? And obviously, I assume it's from Fitness First Days, but it's just an assumption.
No, it's a wrong assumption. Good. But anyway.
I often come to the wrong assumptions.
But I appreciate you making the jump. No. So I started filming with Tony, I don't even know how long ago it was now. Maybe it was up to 10 years ago. And to be honest, I can't even remember. I have a lot of relationships in the industry, so I can't even remember how it came about. But Lisa Moore, who was the producer at the time, she and I were really good friends and subsequently became really good friends. And so we would go up and film content together over a number of years. And so when you talk about the 300 interviews that I've done for the podcast, I think I quote probably double that, because between doing a lot of on-camera interviews and doing all the Mind 123 stuff and a variety of stuff along the ways, it's probably up around 500 or something like that. But I particularly loved filming that content. It does feel like it was a long time ago now, but I think pre-COVID was the last time we recorded anything, actually.
Still some pretty prime content. Like I remember seeing that on the Fitness on Demand platform.
Yes,
and
correct.
Looking at, the Sydney Harbour Bridge in the background and the exercise and some of the points. There was some really iconic sort of Australian imagery that really went globally with what it was doing.
Absolutely. And Tony's always ahead of the time as far as that sort of stuff came. So actually all of that content was done before everyone went online for COVID. So I had great joy out of producing that out of hosting that series. I did some of the exercise videos, but the majority of what I did was hosting the Mind 123 series, which was interviewing experts, like subject matter experts for that series.
Yeah, and there was a lot of short content on there as well, which was great. I remember, again, back to Fitness on Demand, just seeing some of the content pieces. It was like the 3 to 5 minute mind body type interaction content. It was some great content on there.
It really was. It was good.
Now you said you were mostly into group fitness, but I think at some point you transitioned into sports fitness. You were a CrossFitter at one point.
For a very brief moment. My fitness life goes in stages. So
I was a triathlete, but it was a TRY athlete as opposed to I.
Right. Yeah. See, we all go through phases. Group fitness has always been my baby, and so I taught for over 18 years. So that's always been the consistent one. But then, I CrossFitted for a couple of years. Nothing to.
Did you compete at all?
I competed in a local event. Nothing at all that is worth talking about. And then I fell in love with running for a couple of years, and now I've just signed up for High Rocks. So I go through phases. I guess like anyone, but yeah.
So I mean, what did you take from doing CrossFit? Like, I mean, you can joke about it, but the reality is deciding to compete in something, even if. My brother used to ask me, why do you do triathlons when you know you're not going to win? Why do you put in all that work? And I think it's for self-fulfillment, to be the best version of you. But that's my position on it. Like, why did you decide CrossFit competing was something that you wanted to do?
Look, so first of all, I should qualify and say CrossFit was like the tiniest time in my life. It was a very, very small section. I probably did it for like 2 years, so it wasn't a big amount of time. But probably to your question, I've always set myself goals from an event perspective. So whether that is doing that type of an event or doing half marathons or doing adventure races or doing High Rocks. So having events to work towards is probably for me a really good motivation.
Yeah.
I definitely don't need any extra sort of reason to exercise because I genuinely love exercising. I can't imagine my life without it, but I do like to have those things to push myself a little bit further. Yeah. So, running a half marathon is a great example. So I will always, last year I set myself a goal to do 4, which I did all of those 4. And for me, I do that because it pushes me outside my comfort zone. It gives me something to strive towards. Otherwise, I'd probably just be doing the same thing all the time. So same with High Rocks. It's the reason I've done it is because I know that it will push me beyond what I might ordinarily do. And I love having a goal to work towards. I think it's similar to hosting an event. Yep. You have this moment in time that you put all of your preparation into, that you're going to do your absolute best, providing you do the work in the lead up to it. And it's just a beautiful feeling. So and I never, for me, it's certainly not about winning. It's not, I don't have that competitive spirit in me. It's just not important to me. But the process, being a part of it, is what I really enjoy. The adventure of doing those things is what I really love.
Yeah, very cool. So you said High Rocks, it's coming up this year. You've got your first event.
I do.
Wait, when's that?
April in Brisbane.
Probably about by the time we get our finger out and get this recorded.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to see how that goes.
It'll be a whole lot of fun. I have strategically, although maybe for the wrong reasons, picked a partner that is 11 years younger than me to compete with, which means 2 things. It means she is super fit. She's actually my running coach as well. But it means that it's put us in a lower age category. So I think I'm going to be competing in like 35 to 39, which maybe not the smartest move. But anyway, it'll be fun nonetheless.
Again, when women talk about their age, I have no comment or anything that I'm going to add to the conversation. I've been brought up better than that. So, Chantal, we've learned a little bit about you. Now, one of the things that I believe that you are, and I'm sure you'll reiterate it for me, but I believe you're a dog lover.
I definitely am.
So we've got a couple of big dogs downstairs.
They're very big dogs.
But I also note that you do some volunteering around the dogs. You want to talk to us a bit about
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. So my dogs are my kids, and they are being unusually
You have some
well-behaved.
big kids.
They are big kids. They're big kids. So I've got a beautiful Rhodesian Ridgeback. He's 1 year old. And I've got a German Shorthair Pointer that is 4. And we've always had dogs, like my whole life. And ever since I've been married, we've always had dogs. So that is a super important part of my life. They are absolutely my kids. And yes, so I started volunteering at the Sunshine Coast Animal Refuge. And they have dogs and cats, but I look after the dog section. And I only do it once a week. So it's not, it's half a day once a week. And I go there and just do the big dogs. So that means cleaning out their kennels, feeding them, taking them for walks, all that type of thing. So it's been something, volunteer work, whether it be in board positions or animal charities, is super important to me. So I've always tried to make that time to do that type of work. It's very, I would say, the most fulfilling thing that I do of all of my jobs.
Well, you do have a few jobs, and I suppose that brings us to current time. You're doing MCing, voice presenting online. Talk to me about the average week for Chantal Brodrick.
There is no average week.
That's a good answer.
At all. There is definitely no average week. It actually does vary dramatically. So I plan my year based around events. So generally most events will book 12 months out. So I've generally got a bit of a calendar for what the year looks like and how frequently those events come up. For me, the events are absolutely my priority, and I make sure that I allow enough time to do my research and prepare prior to any of those events. So once I have a bit of a landscape of what that looks like for the year, then I start to plan, okay, what else can I fit in around that as well? So that will vary from time to time. So it might be shooting content, shooting podcast content, shooting on camera for a client. It might be doing voiceovers. I do some voiceovers for a company that does travel, audio travel guides for people that are blind and sight impaired. It might be doing just helping people with mentoring or that type of thing. I also do a confident communication coaching, which is just a one-on-one coaching that I do with personal trainers or with anyone, as a matter of fact, to help them speak with confidence. And then I do some event management work as well, some behind the scenes stuff. So last year, as an example, including my husband's 50th, I didn't get paid for that one, but things like Filex, I had a lot more hands-on last year with pulling together some of the speakers, the agenda and the event. And I consult out for some event management as well. So there's kind of a lot going on at any given time, but I work from home quite a bit with that behind the scenes stuff. And then I enjoy just getting out to the travel and, doing the event stuff as well.
So Chantal, we've covered a fair bit of ground. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is this when I get the hosting? I get the mic again.
Yeah, as long as you don't want to ask me too many questions.
Well, I feel like that's what you've just in charge me with.
Yeah. All right. So
what's happening with you, Glenn?
Talk to me about some major your thoughts on the fitness industry at the moment. Where's the direction going into the future?
Okay. So I guess probably to start this, I actually had spent a really good day with Ken Griffin from AusActive back towards the end of last year, where he came up to the Sunshine Coast and we went around and met with a number of different business owners, which was really great. I think that the conscious strides forward that Ken and Emmett and the board and the team at AusActive are making as far as getting a voice at the table at government, really working towards that intersection of where, preventative health is getting talked about a lot more than it ever has previously. I think that is a really good position that we're in, and I think that we absolutely have more work to do. But the fact that is being talked about more than ever before at a government level with key stakeholders is actually super, super important. So you would have known from your conversation with Ken and Emmett recently. So AusActive just put forward their pre-budget submission for 2026. There's some really great work that has gone into that, which revolves around that preventative health, getting a national campaign happening. So I think if we can, as an industry, continue to work towards that, increasing the awareness of exercise as medicine is really important, and just getting more people active, I think that is a really good direction that our industry is taking. I think there is no denying that there has been a massive influx on the wellness side of things into a lot of our facilities, and a lot of facilities have implemented that. I think that'll continue to increase. I just read an article in Athletic magazine this morning, which was talking about things like IV injections and all that type of thing that are really just taking off in the US as bolt-ons to facilities. So I think that in Australia, where, yes, we've got a lot of wellness type services being offered, I think we'll still see more.
Yeah.
I also think with this whole GLP-1 conversation and situation that is happening, and with the number of people that are using GLP-1s, I think we absolutely as an industry need to be very prepared of how we are training people that are utilising that medication. That means making sure that we are training our trainers on how to do the appropriate strength training, understanding what's happening to a client's body if they're taking those type of medications, and just continuing to educate ourselves from that perspective as well. So, look, I think it's exciting to think about the direction that we're headed. I think that AusActive is stronger than ever before as our peak industry body. We have an amazing board. We have, an amazing team that are working behind the scenes to increase awareness about what they do and what our industry is trying to achieve. So I think that we're in a really good position, but we've got to keep pushing. We've got to get more Australians active. And we can only do that by elevating the understanding of the benefits of exercise and preventative health, the importance of preventative health.
And I'm so glad you mentioned AusActive. Obviously inducted in the Roll of Honour last year. Must have been a great privilege for you.
Absolutely.
Nice to be recognised for 2 decades of being a promoter of our industry. So
thank you very much.
Almost a blush. Just I worked hard. I almost got a blush. So, but no, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
So Chantal, you mentioned earlier you're doing communications management. We're now moving into what I consider to be a new era of the industry. There's a lot of people doing podcasts. There's obviously AI that's out there. I'm still a big believer in face-to-face and people. I think, people interacting with people is what our industry is kind of built on. But talk to us a bit about your thoughts on communications and how you're going to coach this new age of people moving forward and what you see.
I agree with you. I think one-on-one or being able to have a conversation is incredibly valuable. And I think one of the reasons that I decided to start doing this coaching is because so often I see people are unable to have a conversation. They're unable to have eye contact. It's not just about standing on stage and getting nervous and crumbling when you stand on stage, but nowadays I think a lot of the younger generation were brought up behind screens. And so quite often they don't know how to properly have a conversation, ask open-ended questions, engage with someone, whether that's one-on-one or one-to-many. So I think that there is a bit of a gap for many people in how do I actually clearly, concisely relay my message or engage with someone. And that skill, it's being taught by a lot of people, but that skill is valuable whether you are front desk in a gym, whether you're a salesperson in a gym, whether you're a personal trainer, whether you are a group fitness instructor, whether you're a manager and you need to talk to your staff. So for me, that communication piece is very, very important because yes, people are using AI. People will hide behind AI to get their message, but there is nothing more powerful than the voice, the eye contact, having that engagement one-on-one with people. So I personally believe in that so strongly. I frequently have even people in older generations, it's not just the younger generations, it's the older generations that want to be able to stand up and talk about their business. Last week I went to a networking event and there were all walks of life there. There were real estate agents, there were restaurateurs, there were people that owned book company, there's all types of people there. And if I had to guess, I would say 80% of them felt nervous about talking about their product in front of a group. And it's not that they don't know about their product. They know it inside out. As soon as they are put on the spot, they go inwards and they start getting self-conscious. And instead of being able to speak clearly and explain about their product or their service that they offer, the words get jumbled and they can't do it and they can't communicate it. So that's one of the things that I work with people on is how do you actually speak with confidence about your product or service or yourself if it's your personal brand as well. Yeah. So in answer to your question, I think there is absolutely a place for AI. There's a place to be able to use those tools in order to escalate, to, I guess, even expand the volume that you're doing and the reach that you're doing. But at the end of the day, I firmly believe that nothing will replace sort of your brand, you talking directly to people and engaging with people. So I think it's a really important avenue for people. It's a skill that is worth investing in.
Well, they say it's the first 7 seconds, I believe, that, set the impression on whether somebody likes you or dislikes you. And I think having that ability to have that initial interaction, to have that positiveness, there's a lot of studies about just smiling,
exactly.
How different that can be. Yet they sound like basic skills, but unless it's taught and reinforced and practiced, how do you become good at them?
And it's not just once you're in the work environment. For a lot of people, it is going to an interview. It's going to a job interview. If you are able to make eye contact and smile and have a conversation with someone and be engaging with someone and ask open-ended questions, it's going to set you ahead of the people that can't. So it's just a skill that is permanently going to provide you with great avenues throughout your life and throughout your career.
Well, even, I would see some of the applications even being for smaller businesses in that human relations side. A lot of smaller businesses don't have HR managers, but I would think some of what you could teach would be helping them to ask the questions of the people who they're interviewing as well, and getting the best out of them. So
yeah, I think it relates to pretty much any job that you could possibly do in any scenario. And one of the groups obviously that I work with a lot are the fitness industry and personal trainers. And you imagine the difference between a personal trainer that is truly engaged in a conversation, that listens to what their client is telling them, that really taps into that is going to put your relationship with that client on a whole different level, because you are gaining their trust. You're getting them to start liking you. So there's just this whole other level that you can have that relationship on with your prospect or with your client, that another trainer that doesn't go down that path is never going to have.
So happy you call her a personal trainer. I'm so sick of hearing everyone say, "Hey, coach." What a load of shit. But we totally digress. Anyway, I think that's why I love you more. So.
Well, you tell me, what do you love about hosting this show?
Yeah.
Getting to know people.
Love getting to hear people's stories, their journeys, how they came to the industry. I hope that, if people do sit through the podcast and listen, that they're going to feel some form of inspiration. That a kid who grew up in Sydney can end up at the Sunshine Coast being one of the most prominent figures in the fitness industry of Australia, and globally for that matter. A kid who was a trolley boy can grow up to operate one of the biggest fitness brands in the country. That a country boy from Western Victoria can grow up to be, the head of a global tech company like Emmett was from MyZone. And sharing people's stories, I think, is still one of the most powerful forms of communication. And it's nice when you guys tell the story better than me. So I just like to sit and listen. And for me as well, I find it very educational.
I love that that's your motivator for doing this show. For me, in the industry, one of my key drivers has been to be able to showcase that there are so many different avenues that you can take in the industry. And like Richard and Joey from Com, a great example, and what you do. And there are just so many different avenues. And I think sometimes when people first step into fitness and they do their group fitness certificate or they do their personal training, they're often a little bit siloed in thinking that their only career path is teaching group fitness or being a personal trainer. And they are amazing careers. They're amazing careers. But there's also all of these offshoots. Yeah. And there's all of these other opportunities that people can take to then go in different directions. So I love that our industry as a whole is growing. There are more opportunities than ever before. And, I love seeing the amount of people that become franchise owners or are working in the head office of major companies throughout our industry as well, or are starting their own businesses. So I love that that's one of your motivators. And what's been your favourite interview so far?
Oh, definitely this one.
Oh, of course.
100%.
I should have phrased it by saying other than this
and
one.
Look, I like the fact that you tried to be humble there, but you're right. You should have put yourself up on a pedestal. Honestly, it would be like picking a favourite kid. I've enjoyed all of them, but for various reasons. One of the things I like to do with the podcast is we film it in person. I don't like to do them over Zoom or whatever. It's in person. Again, I want it to feel like it's a conversation. So hopefully we achieve that. Ones where we were sitting on the factory floor in Thailand with a bottle of whiskey and we were 3/4 cut through it. We've done it in hotel rooms at conferences. We've done we did one in the Pilates room. I find it interesting to try and find some different areas and locations to sit and shoot and to feel like it's two people just shooting the shit, to put it impolitely. So,
well, now you can put 1940s Queenslander on your list.
On that note, I think we are going to call that a wrap. But Chantal, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've done for the industry, what you continue to do. Really rare for me to be sitting at eye level with you, because normally it's like looking up from the audience and, well done, Chantal. Thanks for introing that guest. So really, really nice and enjoyable just to be sitting here and shooting the shit. So thank you so much.
Glenn, thank you very much. I appreciate it.